Hello, I am here in Boulder with my puppy May. She might be joining in a little bit, and so not the typical place, and also not the typical format. Normally, I do a Facebook Live on Wednesdays, but the internet connection here is a little bit spotty, and so I just wanted to create a short little video about something that happened with me actually today, this morning. So I had this really kind of crazy dream about Jason, and in my dream, he was seeing two other women, and it felt like this weird, like betrayal and a sense of something isn't what I think it is. And even though it's just a dream, like in the moment, it feels really real. And so I woke up and I immediately just started sobbing and bawling my eyes out. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's this thing that happens sometimes where we start to feel paranoid. And feeling paranoid is part of being human. Like, it's normal to have fears about the future. It's normal to, want to predict things to protect ourselves, especially if we've been hurt in the past. But paranoia can really put a wrench in relationships because we can be focused so much on the future and focus so much on a sense of like, what if, that we spend so much time in what if, like, what if my partner cheats on me, or what if this relationship doesn't work out, or what if this thing, that we forget about the beauty of the moment. And so if you've gone through experiences where you were paranoid, I know that it can be a lot on the nervous system. The nervous system can be frazzled, we can be high anxiety, we can have a sense of like alertness. And what I mean by that is like our cortisol levels, our stress hormone, is going up. Our adrenals are being taxed, our cortisol is going up, and it's because we're on high alert. So in my mind, paranoia is about being on high alert and looking for something that might not actually be there. And there's this weird interaction between the body and the mind where we can sense something or like have a feeling, and that feeling oftentimes doesn't have words. Like, we just get this sense in our gut, like, oh, something's off. Now, that is intuition, and I want you to pay attention to that intuition. But what's not intuition is when we have like the monkey mind, the fears, like, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, my partner isn't going to stay with me, what if this happens again? So the monkey mind fears are the paranoia that keep us from connecting to our body. And we can be so attached to that story and so used to being what I call like a sentinel, like on high alert and on guard, that it almost feels strange to like allow ourselves to relax. We have this weird feeling sometimes that if we actually relax, that we will miss something. Like, the one time I let down my guard, then something happened. That's not actually what's true. What's true typically is that we have these stories in our mind and these patterns that we somehow subconsciously recreate, or that we're always looking for evidence for. So our brains are confirmatory machines, like confirmatory bias, where we're looking to confirm what we already have experienced in the past because that helps the brain to be safe. So what I want to share is the importance of recognizing when you're getting into story, recognizing when you're getting into fear. And it might be a nightmare or a bad dream. It might be just like some sense of paranoia that comes over you. And I've been there before, and I've shared with Jason before, like, oh, I know this is probably paranoid, but I had this sense that you really were attracted to this person. And each time I've asked him that, he's been like, no, not really. That's not my experience. I'm sorry that you're feeling that way, but it's okay. There was one time that I said, like, oh, were you ever interested in so-and-so? And he was like, yeah, actually, I thought she was pretty cute. And so I have this relationship with him where I can talk about my fears before they turn into full-blown paranoia. And what differentiates fear from paranoia is that in fear, we are in a state of fear, but we can still operate in that place. So we can still take action in fear. And paranoia is typically crippling, and it's also associated with shame. Like, we're so in a fear state and so caught up in the what ifs that it's hard for us to even tell other people, like, wow, I'm worried about this thing, because we're blaming or judging ourselves or shaming ourselves for even thinking that. So this is this is something that can happen, to all of us. And so I don't mean to say that you shouldn't have this feeling, because feeling afraid is just a normal human emotion. And feeling afraid is just a sign to pay attention. And if you get into the paranoia state, notice that you're probably creating what ifs. Like, what if this thing happens? Or what if this thing doesn't happen? And if you want to be in the what if place, like, let's change the what ifs to be, what if this is actually the best day of my life? What if this is actually a great partner for me? What if this is a new opportunity and invitation for me to love myself more? So we have all these different ways that we can convert the what ifs into positive what ifs, and also soothe away the what ifs. So what if now was the best moment and I could learn to love myself more and more deeply, even here? And so when you get in that state of a lot of churning in your mind, take a few deep breaths notice that you're in the what ifs, notice that you're in the story, come back to your body, do something fun and silly like dancing, or do something like journaling, something cathartic to let it all out, and then orient yourself to the present moment, either through physical activity or noticing your environment, or just getting on the phone and talking with a friend or taking a few deep breaths. It's really important that we're able to, instead of moving from a place of paranoia, to recognize the fear and say, like, yes, fear, I know you're trying to keep me safe. I know you want me to slow down and pay attention, and I will, but I will not stop loving myself through this. I will not let this infiltrate the positive beliefs about my partner or about what's possible for me in love. And every once in a while I will have a fear that comes up about me and Jason, but my mind immediately says, no, I'm not even going to go there, because going there doesn't really serve our relationship. And I can notice that it's just a weird mental thought. It's not actually what's happening. And it's not intuition. It's not in my body. It doesn't feel like a gut sense. It's more just this old patterning. And old patterning takes a while to get rid of, but it's so worth it, because one day you'll realize, like, wow, I haven't woken up with anxiety in months. I used to wake up with anxiety like every single month. Or you'll realize, like, wow, I haven't felt like I wanted to pull away from my partner in weeks. Or I haven't felt insecure when I'm at a party in, like a few months, or whatever it is. Like, we can slowly start to notice that these patterns are less and less obvious. And then when they do come back up, we can catch them so much more quickly. So sending you lots of love. This is a time of year where there's a lot of vata, which is the air element, and a lot of kind of crazy making in our mind. It's also Halloween time, or Dia de los Muertos. Like, there's a lot kind of going on. And so I just want you to take the time to really love and nourish yourself and catch yourself when you're being in paranoia, so that you don't self-sabotage any of your relationships. So lots of love to you, and I will see you all next week for the real Facebook Live on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. Mwah!